All right, please begin.
Greetings, everyone. We would like to welcome you to the USDA NIFA Fiscal Year 2024 Air Force 4-H Military Partnership Outreach Support Competitive Grant Program, or MPOS. My name is Bonita Williams. I am a National Program Leader with the Institute of Youth, Family, and Community, and in the Division of Youth and 4-H. And I'll let Chris introduce himself.
Right. My name is Christopher Petty. I'm a program specialist in the Institute of Youth and 4-H. We also have Akelia Lewis with us today, and she is also with the Division of Youth and 4-H. So, about the slides.
In terms of meeting logistics today, this webinar will be recorded or is being recorded. Please be sure that your microphone is muted. If you need any tech support regarding this Zoom presentation, you may dial 1-800-799-0125, option 2. There will be a question and answer period at the end of this presentation, and slides and the recording from this webinar will be posted on our website. Here is our non-discrimination statement, and basically it says, we do not discriminate. However, I will say, if you look at the third paragraph, if you have a concern, there's contact information there. And today, the topics that we will cover include a NIFA overview, a program overview, a request for application or the RFA details, a proposal evaluation process, additional information and resources, and we'll have a question and answer period. In terms of our NIFA overview, NIFA has a series of topics that we cover, and we have 12 listed here, and I'll just mention a couple of those. Food science, farming and ranching, education, and natural resources. Now, program overview. Now, in terms of our purpose and priorities, the overarching goals and desired outcomes for the Air Force 4-H Military Partnership Outreach Support Program include increased access to 4-H research-based resources and trainings for 4-H professionals and volunteers who serve Air Force and Space Force connected youth. And the second is to expand the reach of 4-H programming to additional families living on Air and Space Force installations and in civilian communities in the continental United States, CONUS, and outside of the continental United States, OCONUS. And the purpose and priorities of the Air Force 4-H Military Partnership Outreach Support Grant Program is to award competitive grants to eligible entities. And these entities are to provide outreach and support to 4-H professionals and volunteers to keep them informed, mission connected, and prepared to deliver 4-H programming to Air Force connected youth living on Air and Space Force installations in civilian communities within the continental United States and outside the continental United States. The purpose and priorities of the Air Force 4-H Military Partnership Outreach Support Grant Program offer 4-H opportunities in Air and Space Force connected youth enrolled in kindergarten through 18 years of age that build resiliency, provide a sense of belonging, encouraging positive choices, and foster healthy living on and around Air and Space Force installations. In terms of the strategic objectives, the 4-H Military Partnership Outreach Support Grant is aligned with the following: the USDA Strategic Plan, fiscal year 2022 through 2026, and the USDA Science and Research Strategy 2023 through 2026. Next. In terms of eligibility, all land-grant institutions, 1862, 1890, and 1994 land-grant institutions are allowed to apply for these funds. In terms of cost share or matching, the Air Force 4-H Military Partnership Outreach Support Grant has no matching requirement. NIFA will not factor matching resources into the review process as an evaluation criterion. Application submission and award limitations. Duplicate or multiple submissions with the same lead PD or project director are not allowed. NIFA will disqualify both applicants if an applicant submits duplicate or multiple submissions. However, an applicant may act as a co-PD on multiple unique submissions, as well as submit a single unique application as the lead PD in the same fiscal year.
All
right, Chris?
Thank you very much, Dr. Williams. I will take over the next few slides where we talk about the specifics of the RFA. I put in the chat a link where you can find that RFA if you want to follow along. A couple of changes, if you're familiar with this program from previous years, that may look different to you, is that the Air Force MPOS project is now going to offer 2 awards, one for CONUS, the continental United States, and one for OCONUS outside the continental United States. So that is an exciting change. These projects have to focus on extension activities. So these are not outreach or research projects, they're extension activities. And all projects must focus on activities either in the CONUS or OCONUS regions. Submissions covering both geographical areas are not permitted and will not be considered. On page 1 of the RFA, you will find application details about the 4-H Military Partnership Outreach Support Grant Program, or what we call Air Force MPOS. The deadline to submit your application through grants.gov is 5 p.m. Eastern Time on August 30th of 2024. The total funding amount is $712,500, and you see the asterisks there. This total amount will fund an OCONUS and a CONUS award. If you're applying, keep note of the program code of MPP, the funding opportunity number, the assistance listing number, the maximum amount of funding per award, and as Dr. Williams indicated, 1 proposal per lead project director. Again, for more information, you can find what you see on this slide here on page 1 of the RFA, and there's a link to the RFA in the chat. Some key documents to include in your application include a project summary or your abstract, a project narrative, which includes a data management plan. A logic model is recommended but not required. It is recommended. And a budget or budget narrative. For other additional documents, see the RFA section, and that will be listed under NIFA Grants Application Guide. There is a link in the RFA that will take you right to that application guide. All right, to break down some of the documents I just spoke about, beginning with the project summary and abstract, you will find this information on page 12. In your summary or your abstract, you need to show how your project goals align with the project goals of the Air Force 4-H Military Partnership Outreach and Support Grant Program. Your project narrative is allowed to be 15 1.5 space pages, and that is a 15-page limit for written text. Applications that are longer than 15 pages will be returned without review. You can have up to 20 additional pages for tables and figures, and those should be 11 point or larger and Times New Roman. Please do not try to circumvent your 15-page project narrative with your tables and figures. Continuing on with the project narrative, you see the components here listed should be included, and information is on 12 through 14 of the RFA. This includes the introduction, the rationale and significance of your application, the objectives you hope to reach, your approach, global engagement, a project timeline. And notice the estimated start and end dates of the project have been listed here, September 15th, 2024 to August 31st of 2025. We ask for you to include information on your cooperation and institutional involvement and your data management plan. The next document that you need to include in PDF form is a budget and your budget narrative. That information is located on page 24 of your RFA. There will be a link that will take you to part 5 of the NIFA Grants Application Guide for more specific detail. Note, for this application, your indirect costs are not to exceed 10% of the total federal funds awarded. If you have any questions about indirect cost, you can reach out to myself or Dr. Benita Williams for additional details. As we mentioned earlier, you do need to include a data management plan, and that should clearly articulate how the project director and the co-project directors plan to manage and disseminate the data generated by this project. And this data management plan will be considered during the merit review process. Other documents to include in your application is the recommended logic model. And you can find information online by clicking on this link, which is available in the RFA on page 14 on how to build a logic model. Some voluntary information is the personal data. And another document that we ask that you provide for us is your senior or key person profile. And again, that information is provided in greater detail on page 14 of the RFA. There's a link in that RFA that will take you to part 5 of the NIFA Grants Application Guide for additional details of what and how to submit. NIFA only accepts electronic submissions of applications through grants.gov, and you can see what that looks like right here. The application must be submitted in PDF form. So a Word document that will not suffice, must be in PDF form. The budgets cannot be in Excel. Those also need to be converted to PDF. Please do not use a third-party PDF builder. We're going to switch gears a little bit and talk about how applications will be evaluated. The evaluation process is 2 parts. First, we screen each application to ensure that it meets the administrative requirements, such as page and font, etc., and the documents in the correct PDF form. Once administrative requirements are met in order for the application to proceed to the next level, at that point, we will begin a scientific peer review process, and that will be used to evaluate applications that have met the administrative requirements. After the peer review panel has completed its deliberation, the program staff will recommend that your project is either approved for support or declined for an unfavorable review. And NIFA reserves the right to negotiate with the project director or the submitting institution regarding any project revisions, such as budgets, scope of work, period, method of support changes, etc. Once the review process has been completed, NIFA will send copies of the reviews, which do not include the identity of the review panel, and a summary of the review panel comments to the project director. The following criteria are used to evaluate your applications. First off, the proposal relevance and the effectiveness, and this is to determine if the issue or the problem or the needs addressed are relevant to the goals and desired outcomes for the Air Force Military Partnership and Outreach and Support Grant Program, or 4-H Air Force MPOS. If it's deemed that the extension approach will result in the impacts or outcomes that we are looking for to target stakeholders, that is an evaluation criteria. We're also looking for the technical and scientific merit to assess whether the approach is sound and innovative, and if there's clear goals and objectives, and also if the method is appropriate and the proposal includes all the components necessary for you to complete the goals and the objectives of your application. As has been mentioned a couple times prior, you do need to have a data management plan. This will be used as an evaluation piece, and it will be used to determine the quality and completeness and whether or not the plan is laid out in a way that will ensure the protection, retention, and accessibility of data. The overall qualifications of the applicant will be looked at, and this is to ascertain whether the applicant or others on the applicant team have the education, skills, and experience to carry out the successful delivery of a 4-H Air Force program with the military audiences and the facilities and the resources to do so. Again, if you're interested in more information on this bullet point, that is available on page 17 of the RFA. All right, if you're interested in other programs at NIFA and possible grants you can apply for, we do have a NIFA events calendar that can be found at nifa.usa.gov/events. We also have an upcoming request for applications RFA release calendar. I would encourage you to bookmark this calendar so you can continue to find other grants that you may be interested in. If you're interested in other resources involving the application of grants, we do have several things available that you may want to take a look at. Those are our funding opportunities, grant resources, policy guides, indirect cost guides, submission and preparation guide for grants.gov, information on awarded grants, and then also, and we would encourage you to take a look at this bottom bullet point if you are interested in becoming a NIFA peer reviewer. We would love to have you do that. And that information is available at the link provided, or if you would like, we can send that information to you. I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. Williams to field any questions you may have. Please include your questions in the chat, and we'll be happy to answer those for you.
Thank you, Chris.
anyone wasn't able to see it, if you came into the presentation late, I'm going to put the link back in for the RFA. This link will take you to the Air Force Military Partnership Outreach and Support webpage. Okay,
Wow, we have no questions.
I'm not seeing anything in the chat. I'm going to take it back to the final slide here. If you do have questions later on that you would like to ask us, see how to reach out to us, preferably by email right here. My email address is christopherpetty@usda.gov. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. I noticed there's a typo right there.
Well, if we have no questions, we're going to thank you for joining us today. And
Okay.
hopefully you have enough information to make your submission by our deadline at 5 p.m. We thank you so much.
Have a good day, everyone.